Hi, everybody. I'm John Self. This week, layoffs spread. Some tech companies initiate a second round of cuts. Amazon layoffs are now focusing on distribution centers, signaling a slowdown in online ordering. Healthcare systems are facing rising labor costs and uncertainty over reimbursement, and they are beginning to also consider layoffs in some markets. This includes employed physicians, something I never thought I'd see. The Fed chair remains resolute to cut the rate of inflation to 2%, and this could result in millions of lost jobs, moving from 6% to 2%. Hello, I'm John Self, and the prospect of a soft landing and a minimal recession now seem to be shifting to the prospect of a slow slide into a deeper slowdown and a deeper recession than many of us had hoped for. How deep and how long is still unknown. Now, the jobs imbalance officially remains, but many HR leaders say that they are leaving the jobs they are leaving jobs that they have posted up on these various job board sites for the foreseeable future. Again, uncertainty seems to be driving that and other human capital decisions. Although industry analysts have been telling me that the people who've weathered the recession and past layoffs says that many of the 1 million unfilled jobs will be eliminated, and it will seem like it happens overnight. Now, for workers who are worried about future layoffs, this job surplus that continues to exist and still continues to fuel higher salaries in competition for talent is really a false sense of security. The Great Resignation should be fading. If it's not, you want to be very, very, very careful about changing jobs now. Last in, first out. A global HR consultant in New York that I know says it's a mistake to wait until the dominoes begin to fall. You must get out in front if you want to avoid a prolonged layoff and a job search. So now let's shift to another amazing development. Generative pre-trained transformer. Well, that's a mouthful. You know it as ChatGPT, the much talked about artificial intelligence program capable of passing law and medical school exams, and it will have a major impact on the job search process. Now, there's a beta version it's widely available, and a bevy of coaches and applicants are already testing its power to generate custom cover letters as well as resumes. Once you give them your input, it will customize using the job summary information you data input, and it'll create a cover letter, and eventually it'll create a pretty good resume as well. So this will absolutely mean that the day of the resume writers, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's something that's going to significantly change the whole nature of the job search. Now, while there's some refinement that still needs to be done, it won't be long before the resume writing industry is shaken to its core, and I think they have a role to play, but it will require that the best of the best redefine their value proposition, as coaches will as well. Clearly, the days of $750 to $2,000 resume writing fees are nearing an end. I've worked with this ChatGPT in creating information for clients, and I must confess, although it's early stage, it is impressive. Career coaches and those, including people in our firm, we're already looking for ways to integrate this technology with our online and live coaching packages. Now, one promising area is ChatGPT's interactive interview prep feature, but at this point, it cannot really replace the human factor in mock interviews that provide immediate constructive feedback. Now, Google search engine dominance faces really a greater short-term threat than ever before. And even though they are racing to produce their own AI product, it's called Bard, and it is in a selective beta testing now. I know several people who are doing it and say that it's faster, but that it doesn't necessarily just give you one linear sort of response. It gives you options. So that's interesting. That's something that's ongoing. Now, I think the great news for people who hate to write resumes, which includes 90% of you 363 days out of the year, this AI software will make your life so much easier. and you won't have to depend. We will still be advising people on their resumes and formats, but once you get a good format, and you can get that downloadable just so long as you get the right one so that it's not too formatted. Once you get the format and get your information in it, you can then update it more easily by inputting the job description information and the key phrases and words for the job description. I mean, that's going to make it so much easier. Okay? Now, there is a downside, you may have heard. A boatload of AI professors and scientists, along with the likes of Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak, two people who rarely agree on anything. They've all been signatories to a letter yesterday that said, "Whoa, Nelly," to quote Keith Jackson, the former legendary ABC Sports play-by-play man. They are saying, hey, there are things about this that are so powerful and so unique and so potentially challenging in terms of morals and ethics and legal issues that we need to stop what we're doing until we kind of understand what the implications are. Well, okay, that's interesting. With new layoffs looming, I encourage you to take advantage of I want to encourage you to take advantage of our free course on the steps you should take if you get laid off. There's no shame in that event. I think most everybody I know has either been fired once or laid off and through no fault of their own. It happens to most professionals in their careers, but not being prepared or knowing the steps that you should take could prove costly. Now, if you have questions, put them in the chat or email us at johngself.com and we'll be happy to get back to you. One of the things I want to go back to is on that AI Pause for the Cause letter that came out yesterday. It was an interesting thing that, they didn't, it wasn't saying Congress needs to step in. It wasn't saying they need to pass a law to stop it. They said a voluntary pause. In that industry, really? My God, people developing OpenAI and Google and all these other people that are racing to be the best, they're not going to pause voluntarily. That would be like treating Vladimir Putin as an honorable, world leader, and not really worrying what he's doing behind the veil of secrecy. I mean, we couldn't trust him. It's just like when it comes down to doing the right thing, trusting hedge fund leaders and venture capitalists to do the right thing for the greater good of the country versus profit, not a chance in this world. So I think what's going to happen is Congress probably will get involved after it's too late. And of course, if you look at what's going on in Congress right now, that's a three-ring circus, or, and some people say, a circular firing squad. Unfortunately, unfortunate use of terms, but that's what it looks like sometimes. They're focusing on all things Washington and all things next election cycle right now. So that's fairly typical. So they're not going to get involved. When they got involved this past week with TikTok, everybody came to the table with preconceived ideas. The TikTok CEO, a lot of people said he took a pounding, but he ended up probably more popular with TikTok users than ever before. And keep in mind, there's about 150 million TikTok users in North America. So Congress is playing with fire. And everybody says, well, it's addictive and people are spending so much time on it. Gee, isn't that what they said about when computer games really began to pick up steam and develop the level of sophistication, and then you had the ability not to play with your brother or sister sitting in the other Barca lounger in your living room, but play with somebody in London or in Singapore online. And so, there's still people that are just gamer people, and they spend a lot of their time each day gaming. There are even Olympics of gaming, and it was addictive, and a lot of parents were really concerned about it. Well, this is the same thing. Now, at this point, there's no evidence that the Chinese government has extracted any information from the U.S. servers. And so I think a lot of this is just political hype. I think, if there are legitimate security concerns, I think it's fine. Let's put it into the hands of an American company and put a firewall between us and China, and they can pay China royalties. The ByteDance company royalties, if that's what we do. But shutting it down I don't think is going to happen. I don't think it's a realistic option. So, and I don't think it turned out to be a very smart option if you're catering the Gen Z and millennial catering to Gen Z and millennial voters. That's what I was trying to say. So, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We are building an audience. So this is the first time we've gone to noon on YouTube. And so I realize that we may get 5 or 6 people at night on it's really interesting. At night on TikTok, I will have 400 or 500 people watching the broadcast. So it's a different kind of platform. On this side, you have to really build an audience, and that's what we're doing. And right now, we're not doing a great job, but we'll keep at it. As we are doing on some other platforms. So thanks for dropping by. I do have some questions that you can, if you want to put your questions in the chat box line, that's great. We'll be happy to answer them. But we do have some questions that were sent in from an earlier broadcast on LinkedIn early this morning. Number one, why are recruiters reluctant to disclose the name of the company they are recruiting for? Okay. Let's understand there are basically 3 types of recruiters. There are corporate recruiters. Okay, when they call you, they're going to tell you who they work for. Let's take them off the table because that's really not an issue with corporate recruiters. Then there are 2 remaining external recruiting sources. One are retained firms. They work like big consulting companies, and you've heard some of the names in Korn Ferry, Russell Reynolds, Heidrick and Struggles, DHR. There are some big name companies, global companies. They do high-end C-suite and executive searches, and they have very high-end fees, anywhere from 30 to 35% plus expenses, and they also take a percentage of the compensation. It's based on a compensation formula. So if you're a $300,000 a year CFO and you're going to make a $100,000 bonus, their fee is going to be calculated on what the base salary and what the anticipated bonus is, and it's guaranteed. And they're not working on a non-exclusive basis. They have the exclusive rights to that search. Now, when you get one of these emails from a recruiter and it says, hey, we've identified you as a potential candidate, we've been retained by this client, sometimes they say retained is a way of saying we've been engaged, okay? You can engage someone and not be exclusive, okay? But they'll say we've been retained. And this is the job, and they'll outline the job. They won't give you the name. They probably won't give you too much information about the salary. Are you interested? If you are, you must customize your resume to those specifications, and then because you're going to be submitting it online, and it's going through applicant tracking system. Now, you got to that point because some applicant scanning system was going through all the LinkedIn profiles, thousands within 10 or 15 minutes, and producing a mailing list for the search firm to automatically send out these messages to try to generate candidate interest. But if you get one, and you respond, be sure you customize your resume because it's going to be read by a computer, not a real person. If they're interested, if they're retained, they're going to begin giving you more detailed information about the client, the job, the hurdles, the expectations. And my advice is, although at the senior level, compensation is usually not as big an issue, I have seen it happen. So it's before you get too far into the process, ask people what the salary range is. And if they don't want to talk about it, just say, well, look, I don't want to waste your time and you don't want to waste my time. I'm currently making in this range. I'm going to be looking for 12 to 15% more. If the recruiter says, oh, we probably can work something out, more too often than not, that's a large load of El Toro poo-poo, okay? If it's a contingency recruiter, they're going to do anything they can to keep you into the search and try to close the deal because that's the only way they're going to get paid. The retained consultant here, the retained recruiter, gets paid regardless of what happens. So, but ask about the salary, okay? They have an exclusive. They're going to be able to tell you more information because they've spent more time with the client. A contingency recruiter frequently has to compete with other contingency recruiters for the applicants, and sometimes they may even be competing against people who walk in off the street, and so it makes it a lot more difficult. And it's all about speed. It's recruiting speed. So if you get the candidate in first, the resume in, it's qualified. They call you and say, John, are you interested in this kind of job? It's really good. It'd be a great move up for you. Yeah, I'd be interested in that. Well, if you send me a resume, boom, as soon as they get it, they're going to turn it around and immediately send it to the client. Why? Because they want to have credit for submitting this to you. If you get multiple calls and it seems like it's the same job, don't give your resume to multiple recruiters just so you can cover the bases. That's a bad idea, because clients do not want to have to deal with recruiters who are fighting over the same candidate. They'll drop a good candidate rather than get in the middle of that catfight. So understand how those people work. The contingency recruiters, because they're trying to do it in a hurry, they're trying to get credit for the placement, they're not going to give you a lot of information about the client because they don't want it to get out to other recruiters who then might jump their assignment if they don't know about it. And that happens all the time. So that's why they don't tell you a lot about the company. Okay, what is a mock interview and how can that help me be better prepared for a job? Well, a mock interview is basically an interview based on a job scenario. A lot of people offer that service. We offer it. I've been interviewing people for 27 years. I've interviewed thousands of executives across the globe. And we sit down and we look at your resume. We identify issues that you may be asked about, and so then we conduct an interview. Now, there's two things that we can do it two different ways. We record everything because we do it on Zoom. And we record everything, and we can go through and ask questions, and you can give answers, and then we can say, okay, on this question, you said it and presented it in these terms. Here's what we would recommend based on our experience. And we go through that for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, helping you, and then to figure out a better way to answer questions. And then you get a copy of the video to help you get prepared and to learn how to answer questions more effectively. Now, you can be superbly qualified for a job. Superbly qualified. You can be the best qualified person for the job and still not get the offer. Why? Because qualifications are important. But clients usually hire the person that they trust and like because that person did a better job, a more compelling job in communicating their value. And so you have to learn how to do that. So you have to learn how to sell yourself throughout the interview, and you have to learn how to take advantage of the questions and insert your value, insert your strengths into your answers so that they know you're the best person for the job. I tell you, you're going to be competing with some very qualified people. And you may not be the most qualified person, but you still have every chance of getting the job if you communicate your value in a compelling way. The most qualified person for a job only gets it about 30 to 35% of the time. The rest of the time, the person who gets the job is qualified, but it's the person who did the best job in the interview. Jobs are won or lost. Salaries are decided a lot of times based on interview performance. So a mock interview can help you get ready for that because it's a practice. It's an interactive practice. Is it expensive? Not really. People charge a variety of expenses. Some people charge it by the hour. For us, it's a loss leader, to be perfectly honest. And we charge $89. And it basically, I won't go into all the details right now, but you can go to our site at johngself.com and click the little red tab on the right side of the home page, and that'll take you to our home page for courses, and then scroll down and you can look at all our various courses that we offer. And the mock interview is in there, and it breaks down how we deliver that service. But it can be very, very helpful. People who've gone through it have said that they did a really much better job in interviewing after the mock interview than they had previously. So we have several options. We also have a course called Mastering the Job Interview, and it's very affordably priced. And so take a look at all the various options. I'm not going to get into the details and try to sell you too much today. But I think that, again, it can be very, very helpful. Remember this too. Interviewing is one of the most unique forms of communication in business. It's not like a presentation. It's not like a speech. It's not like a board, running a meeting. It's not like an interactive conversation. It should be, but it's not because basically you are being asked to communicate and answer questions and communicate your value. And most people get very nervous, and when they get nervous, they lose their self-aware perspective. So if you look at someone's career for 40 to 50 years, most people aren't going to interview more than 20 to 25 times during that time frame. Everybody goes, oh, no, no, no. If you break it down, really you won't. And that's not, even if you've interviewed and did well 5 years ago, the job market, the interview market today is dramatically different. So it's a good idea to find someone who can help you get ready for the job interview. There's another thing that we offer that's free. It's called Core and Categorical Questions, and it teaches you how to anticipate the questions you'll be asked. That's a free downloadable form. So visit our website at johngself.com. There are paid courses, and there's a lot of free content. So take advantage of that. I asked a colleague to serve as a reference, but they declined because it is against corporate policy. What can I do? Well, to be perfectly honest, most hospitals and most organizations and corporations, manufacturing, healthcare, bank, financial services, they all have the obligatory policy that says that you're not supposed to give references following someone's departure. And that's a policy that risk-averse lawyers come up with to keep from getting sued. The truth is, very, very few lawsuits are filed each year over referencing from corporations. And so they have that position in place to put some control so that people just aren't shooting their mouth off, because people will do that. And I have seen executives get really hurt badly because they didn't work out all the details to their severance, including who was going to be contacted and who was going to be the person held accountable for providing the reference. And this person got death by 1,000 cuts by backyard whispering. So, but a lot of companies don't want you to give references. So let's get back to the question, which is, what do I do with this person who I want to be one of my references? Says no because he doesn't want to violate the policy. Well, you can go back and say, look, this is going to be very confidential. No one's going to know you talk to them. I really would appreciate it. We can call you at home. We can use your personal email. Nobody needs to know. If they're still apprehensive, then you have to find someone else, so especially if you've been in one company 5 to 7 years, because you can't go outside the company unless people really know you, vendors or people that are affiliated with the organization that can speak specifically to your performance. Because if you get some people who say really nice stuff but can't provide specific information about your performance, then that's not really a good reference. So you need to find someone who can speak specifically to your performance on all elements. And usually that, especially if you've been in an organization 5, 7, 8 years, that's usually going to be somebody you work with. So try to find someone who will speak confidentially on your behalf. Vet them, know what they're going to say. That's really important, because people kind of wait to the last minute to get the references. They kind of throw it together. Sometimes it's a mess, and I have seen otherwise really good candidates get kicked out of a search because they did a sloppy job in managing their references. So there's that. I had a dispute with my boss. She was a micromanager, and we clashed several times. She fired me even though I was one of her top performers. What steps should I take to ensure she does not torpedo my job search? She's kind of vindictive and holds a grudge. And she has a reputation for being vindictive. Okay, really a sweetheart there. And that's not a gender issue. Just as that jerks are not from one gender or another, or any other breakdown. They're jerk alerts are sort of blind. So here's some things to consider. Consult with an employment lawyer to understand your rights. If it's a friend, that's great. It may be a knowledgeable general lawyer, but keep in mind, employment law is can be fairly specific. So you might want to check with a lawyer. You may also want to schedule an exit interview with HR. Usually, if you're terminated or lay off, or you decide to move on to some organization, you will be asked to come to HR for the purpose of having an exit interview, so they can kind of evaluate, how were you treated? Why are you leaving? Is there something we did wrong? Is there something we could have done better to keep you? Those types of things. Well, if you're really just fed up with the way you're treated or you've been fired, you need to have, if they don't arrange an exit interview, you need to request one. And if you want to have fun, request it on a Friday afternoon, because that's usually when people get fired, is late Friday afternoon. If you want to, even if you want to sit down with your employer, the one who did the firing, you say, before I leave, I want to have a conversation with you. Could we meet on Friday? And I will tell you the reason a lot of people. The reason a lot of people get fired is because the manager and the employee don't have a good working relationship. The manager should have never gotten to that point. The manager should have provided feedback and guidance and coaching. So wanting to meet with them on a Friday afternoon will create a great deal of anxiety. And then, it's just try to work everything out so that you leave on good terms, but still have that conversation with HR after we're ready to leave, and tell HR, just say, look, this is an employee at will state, and if it is, most states are. I understand the company has the right to terminate me. I was a top performer for many years and was at the time of my dismissal. Here are the issues. And I think that if she probably might benefit from some coaching or some guidance to avoid other people leaving, because I think this will happen. And then leave and try to take as much severance as you can get and move on, and don't look back. Go through the grieving process, but that's basically what you have to do. Now, if nobody wants to talk to you and nobody wants to talk about severance, then you need to visit with an employment attorney and let them take the lead in trying to work out a settlement for you. Do not sign anything. If you've been terminated and they want to sign something late Friday afternoon as you're going out the door, do not sign anything. Even if they try to threaten you, they can't. I mean, they can't deny you. They can't deny your paycheck or anything else. That's against the law. Just say, I'm happy to review this. I will review it as soon as I can look at it over the weekend and visit with my attorney. Okay? And that's, they're asking you to sign something. You have a right to show it to your attorney. So be very careful that you don't sign anything. Be very careful what you say. Do not, even if you get really caught blindsided and you're really angry, zip it. Take the high ground. Okay? Don't give people a reason to talk badly about you. So that's an important consideration. Okay? Let's see if there's anything else people. Most keep in mind when people give references, you want to be sure that you understand. When I'm in my job search, if they want to know who to talk to here, who do I direct them to, and what will be said, and you have a right to know that. Most companies just will confirm dates of employment. Sometimes they'll talk about eligibility for rehire, but most don't even do that. What you don't want your prospective employers doing is calling you only want them talking to the official spokesman or people that you want them to talk to. Now, you can't control, because that people do secondary references sometime, but you really want to keep them away from talking to the boss that fired you, okay? Mainly because they might make a mistake, and they might be very nice, but it'll probably be more damning with faint praise. But you want to try to keep everything on the high ground, all right? Again, there's very few times there are complications when people give references. You just want to be sure that you have everything organized. You have everything, that all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. When you don't, that can create problems. I have seen some CEOs who didn't think that they needed to worry, that they were assured that everything would be okay, but they didn't work everything out. They didn't talk about what was going to be said. And after that person left, the board members just kind of did the whisper campaign, and this person took 5 or 6 years to get back into a CEO role in his field of expertise. And that was a direct result of a sloppy exit from an organization. So I think that pretty much takes up our time for today. It's 12:30. I hope that if you're watching this live, thank you for joining us. If you see this on video, I hope you'll give me feedback. Please, if it's crappy, tell me it's crappy. That's all right. It's not going to offend me. We're here to try to help you. And I'm learning about live TV, and I'm learning about TV production and content and all those things. So your feedback really will help me. As a coach, I'm here to help you. So we hopefully, pardon the sort of corny sound, but I hope we can help each other. Thanks again for joining us today, and we hope to see you again next week at noon here on YouTube.